Welcome back to the channel, you guys. This is your girl, Wicked Raider, here with another breakdown. Just a couple of thoughts on an area in Raid Shadow Legends. We are all probably visiting at this point, doing a little grinding, finishing up the most recent fragment summons, and so many of you guys were so excited about the most recent champion. And I promise you, one day I will join the excitement. But for now, I'm just picking up as many fragments as possible on my main account, especially, and kind of taking it a little slow. I wanted to ask you guys, as you are going from tournament to the next event to whatever Plarium has in store for us, how often do you find yourself building out champions simply for faction wars? I got a comment not too long ago, and the follower was asking about faction wars, their importance, and whether it was always worth it to have champions available for each area. And in the end, we all know the biggest goal is to acquire this champion. I hear so much about Lydia, so much about Lydia. There are videos everywhere looking at her kits, her abilities, and just having the opportunity to add a champion like this to your account is more than exciting. But you start to figure out that there are certain factions that you are so much more comfortable in, and others where you will eternally struggle. Now, I am loving that we have these, the hidden ones are going to pop up pretty soon. And we know, just based on the newest factions added to the game, just like when they added the Shadowkin Crypt as well to the game, it's one of those things you always look forward to. Right now, I'm finding myself, I have not jumped into Shadowkin's faction as far as faction wars has gone. I just haven't done it. On this particular account, I don't have a lot of champions that fall under that category. Now, I was lucky enough to pull Finchy not too long ago. And this is one of those champions. The ratings are pretty good for this champion. They're okay. You know, some areas, especially in dungeons, it appears, excels, campaign and such, not so much, but the keeps, he's in the fours. So this is probably one of those champions that definitely has a niche for most areas. I'm feeling it. I'm all about it. And what I'm doing is, I'm not sure this is a champion that I will eventually keep and build. I've ascended him only, I've ascended him only because I just had the potion sitting around. Most of us get to the point, I wanted to do something with them, couldn't figure out exactly what to do with them, but it's always something to kind of keep in mind and to think about. At this point, I'm kind of looking for boots that have a little speed on them, because that's the other area where I can definitely say I struggle just a little bit, is finding artifacts, especially with newer accounts, and being able to get the stats you're looking for. If you find that you have been running campaign, you have been giving it your all, you are running the stage to get speed boots, and for some reason getting boots with speed on them is not happening, I will tell you, if you keep running those battles, eventually you will get them. Guys, I have one free-to-play account where I think I just literally got rid of maybe 25 pairs of boots. None of them had the stats that I was looking for. So you are not alone. I have more with defense and attack, and never what I'm looking for, but I looked up with accuracy. I'm probably going to go ahead and do this one just to kind of hit a little bit more crit rate, because I am struggling gear wise on this account and have been for quite some time. I do know that at this point, I probably want to spend a lot more time running my dungeons and just getting better quality gear. And where I usually struggle is when it's time to make that 5-star, 6-star kind of decisions. What champion should I get rid of? What champion should I focus on a little bit more? It always comes down to that kind of decision. And the higher you go, the harder it gets. So when I'm thinking about faction wars overall, I want to just kind of pluck away at them little by little. I have noticed, especially during CVC, if you're into Clan v Clan, the amount of points that you gain, the higher you go in faction, oh my gosh, it's so worth it. It is so worth it. This past competition, it was definitely one of the things that was on my mind. I went in, it was one of the first areas I actually went to, and I was so happy that I did. The number of points acquired was amazing. I was hitting 200, 250 points, each battle. And so that becomes a really big part for me. I haven't actually ran Finchy. I need to go back and kind of look at his kit as well, just kind of get an idea of what this guy is all about. But I figure this is a good a time as any to really get in and kind of see what a champion like this one will do. There are a couple of champions in this faction overall that sometimes when you add them to a team, right away you don't see the largest difference because most of us are looking at attack percent. Like we're looking at how much damage are you, dealing out. But there are a lot of champions, guys, that have skills that go beyond that are a lot more helpful. Let's just see what this guy has. So Hate Blades is going to be first, attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. If you are coming against teams that always seem to go first, and I know even with arena, when you start building your arena teams, that becomes a big one. You're not necessarily looking for champions that increase your longevity in battle, but you are looking for those champions that will allow you to get out there and get ahead of the game. Sometimes, guys, the higher you move up in level, if your team is not the first to attack, you are pretty much done because there are so many teams that will be able to solo you in the beginning. So seeing this decreased speed debuff is pretty nice. You can increase, of course, the debuff chance by 10% and increase the amount of damage given by 10% as well. Second skill, attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 50% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15%. So there's a little turn meter control, which can be kind of nice. We can bring this down to a 2-turn cooldown. All right. Okay. I see it. That's not bad. Damage can be increased by 15%. Buff debuff chance increased by 25%. So we can definitely get that up to a 75% chance. Not bad at all. I think probably one of the biggest drawbacks so far is the attacks one enemy, but it is nice that it is 3 times. So if this is one of those champions that's able to put out a little bit of damage, or a nice amount of damage, the fact that he's hitting 3 times kind of puts him in a different category. I was hoping that this is going to be an attack all enemies, but Killer's Bile attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit places a 5% poison debuff on the target for 3 turns. We'll ignore 10% of the target's defense for each poison debuff on the target. That's not bad. Of course, his damage is based on his attack level, so it's something I want to pay attention to. We can bring this skill down to a 3-turn cooldown and also increase that damage percentage by 30%. So I can definitely see where everyone is going with Finchy. I can see that one. So not bad at all. The other champion that I'm running on this team, because I had to go back and double look, is Blood Mask. Now, this is another champion, guys. I pulled this guy before. And I'll be honest, I think the first time I ended up using him as food. I really did. And I can't recall, as you can see, he's just kind of been sitting and doing his thing. Campaign locations, Faction Wars 4.1, Dragon's Lair. So this is a guy, if I put gear on him, Hydra is 4.2, Iron Twins, another rating. He's probably one of those that I would use in Faction Wars until I actually acquire another champion for that area. And there are going to be champions strictly on your team. And honestly, it's the only time you pull them out. With these champions, I don't necessarily push to use the best of the best gear. He is HP based, not bad. Let's look at these skills and see what we got. Always the attacks one enemy. Attacks one enemy and has a 35% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. So with both him and Finchy on the same team, a lot of turn meter control. You can increase the buff debuff by an additional 10% and increase the damage by 10%. Usually, if you have an HP-based champion, they can be a little squishy. Woo. Oh, whoa, whoa. Okay. Okay. Got a little something. Foot stump attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 15% decreased speed. That seems to be the theme. So between him and our other guy, the decreased speed turn meter control is going to be a big one for 2 turns. Of course, we can increase that buff percentage by 25%, increase damage by 15%, and then place this on a 3-turn cooldown. So 2 skill kind of guy. Ascending will allow him to get skull fracture. That can be placed on a 3-turn cooldown. Will attack one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. So able to get into the stun. We did not put a single piece of gear on this guy. I'm going to go through and just kind of pick, honestly, the gear that I have already upgraded just a little bit, just so I don't feel guilty about wasting the silver. Right now, I'll be honest, guys, I am always strapped for silver, and I don't really care what accounts we are looking at. So okay, I would love to see speed here, but honestly, if I put speed boots on this guy, I will probably turn around and take him right back off. That gets really expensive the more you move up, and some of you know exactly what I mean. Have you ever placed an artifact on a champion, and then you're like in the middle of a battle and you realize you absolutely put the wrong piece of equipment on the champion? Like it's one of the most frustrating things ever. And I've done it on more than one occasion. And so I'm trying to be really, really vigilant about what I'm picking, how I'm picking. I'm tempted to put this guy in a relentless set. I was thinking about it, but I wanted to, nice little HP boost. I want to only put gear on him that I didn't have to upgrade, and it's not looking like that's going to be a very successful approach. So, okay, all right, all right. So it looks like it's worth it. Get a little defense on there. Why not? We still need, and we'll just filter to make this easy on us. Still need these 2 pieces. Not many of you guys are going to fall into it. This is probably one of my least favorite parts, is going through and pretending as if I am really going to pick the absolute best piece of equipment possible, which normally I find myself doing exactly what you see me doing now. I'm going to scroll through my attack percentage. We can add a little bit to it. Why not? I'm going to pick whatever gear is just kind of sitting and hanging around that will give us a little speed, a little hope, and we're going to go in and see what happens. I could try to ascend that champion because he's already 4-star. Should we do it? We'll run him once and just kind of see what he does. No aura just yet on this guy, but that'll be helpful as well. If you haven't been using potions, you kind of been just holding off, trying to see which champions are going to be worth it, go ahead and kind of make the leap. It will definitely make the difference. Not nearly as big of a difference as you would expect, like placing masteries on a champion. So many of my newbie players have not quite started Minotaur's Dungeon. Guys, if you are not really chasing after those scrolls, once I got my, of course, my starter champion, you normally have your login champion. You will likely look up and pull an epic pretty early on. But once I build that first team of 4, I run that team of 4 with all of my multi-battles pretty much in Minotaur's Labyrinth until I get the mastery scrolls needed. So, wow, that's different. Now, notice this guy, Blood Mask, is a rare champion. Finchy is actually an epic, and he's ascended, and we see you who's doing the most damage, which is kind of interesting. I'm tempted to go in. Let's go back and see if we could possibly ascend this guy. And let's see, can we tell a difference? You can tell I have not. I just recently ascended several champions. Oh, we only got one. And I don't think that's the dungeon that's open currently either, which it never is. It's never the dungeon that you want when you're looking for that particular dungeon. But I want to see if across the board as we move up, he'll continue to out damage my other champion, who is actually level 27 at this point, 4-star. So Killer's Blade, I love the speed that he throws. And I think, honestly, if I had thrown more speed on my other champion, we would do a little bit better. Guys, if you're only able to run stage 1, stage 2 of Faction Wars, run it. Every single day, run it. The materials that you receive, especially for Forge, some of you guys have already unlocked Forge. Some of you are getting to that point. It's going to be worth it. Don't underestimate, even if you are in dungeons and you're stuck at level 1, level 2. And I've seen so many people say, it's not working, or, I can't get to stage 10 or 20 that everyone's talking about online. If I can run stage 1, stage 2, I'm going to run it. My guy is not going to survive. I'm pretty sure this is probably as high a level as we will be able to run. So I will actually drop this team down. If he's successful, I'll go back, drop my team down, and run the remainder of my battles there. I could run another one here. Because the thing is, even when you lose, when it comes to keys, the good thing is, whether it's Doom Tower, guys, you don't lose keys. It's called, hey, you lost the battle, go back, regroup, or drop down a couple of levels and try again. I hit Faction Wars each time I log in. I also push myself for Clan Boss, which is another one. If you have not joined a clan, which I highly recommend that you do, we've got slots 22WK. Got to slide that one in. But if you have not joined a clan, it's a great time for you to jump in. You're in between, clan v clans, of course, and you're able to make that clan boss progress. You're going to be placed into that central group where you guys are able to tackle each level. And that's when it becomes really, really interesting. That's where a lot of our shards are coming from, pushing so hard to get to Nightmare. It's where a lot of the materials that we're looking for and haven't been able to figure out, like, where can I find this? It's tucked away in Clan Boss. The same can be true about Doom Tower. As you start to build your champions, you're going to need rare champions. So if you have kind of gotten yourself to a point where you are not quite, let's go up one more level, just one more. Probably won't win this one, but we'll try it. If you've gotten yourself to a point in Doom Tower and you just have not been successful, or if you've gotten to the point where you're trying to build champions and you're pulling a rare here and there, but you've been using the majority of them as food, which is something that I see really common. Slow down a little bit, because there are those areas in Doom Tower that will need those rare champions. And I guarantee you, like all of us have done, anyone who's unlocked Doom Tower, you finally get to a secret room for rares and you realize, I wish I had kept this champion. They're the best for this particular area. And it's one of those. It can be one of the best feelings because hey, I pulled them. I will eventually probably pull them again. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But it's being able to really sit down and decide which champions are going to be most important, which ones do I need to put to the side, which ones perhaps should I vault and save for later. It's not until I started Clan Boss, thinking about doing Hydra and Doom Tower, that I really started playing around with that idea of using my vaults a lot more. My guy did pretty good, but he's just not well, he did make it. I'm impressed. So we made it to stage 4. I actually want to even push the envelope on this one. I'm going to just drop back down. I think my favorite was here. I'll just drop here, and I'm going to run the remainder of my little battles, which won't take that long. I can only run one. And then I'll go back and, of course, run that last battle, not to leave any keys just out there. Now, there are going to be some areas of the game that you may choose to save until later. Just because an area opens up at level 30, level 40, 45, it doesn't mean you have to stop what you're doing and drop your resources into that area. You will eventually find your favorite spot. For some people, it's arena. I know a lot of players, they probably spend 80% of their time preparing champions and building teams in arena. The rest of the game, honestly, is just a way for them to fuel their team across the board. There are some people that are all about finishing campaign. They want to get every star. They want to make sure everything's complete. And even with arena, The other thing is you want to max out that great haul. Your great haul is something that impacts every champion on your account. So as you're thinking about it, and all these other little areas of the game that don't necessarily seem like they're of the utmost importance, but you keep running into teams and it's like, what am I not doing that they're doing? It's probably going to be related to one of those areas. Guys, don't skip out on the fun. Let me know what area of the game you are currently most interested in. Is there an area that you're vested in because you definitely want to move your team to a new level, or you want to move your account in a particular direction? I would love to hear where you guys are and where do you think you want to be, or what's your plan for the next couple of months of raids. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. Still pushing out content on a regular basis. I am trying to hit 2 to 3 times a week. I used to post 5 days, guys, and that 5 days, I'll be honest, was wearing me out. But at this point, I want to come in with content on a couple of areas that we usually go into every day, but we may not necessarily be thinking about it in the same way. I always would love some tips, looking for tips. And if there's a champion that you would love me to do a guide on, let me know. And as always, happy gaming.